A fire can be an unpredictable and frightening event in any setting, but a fire that occurs in a long-term care setting can completely devastate your residence, your facility, and your entire community. In 2003, 2 fires in Connecticut and Tennessee caused the deaths of 31 long-term care residents. These terrifying tragedies focused attention on fire prevention in long-term care facilities. Over the last decade, increased government oversight, sprinkler system mandates, anti-smoking legislation, and improved employee training have all led to a decrease in the number of fatal fires, especially those that result in multiple deaths. Fires do still occur and represent a significant threat, mostly due to the special needs of your residents. Some may not be ambulatory. Others who suffer from dementia may not perceive a fire to be a danger. They rely on you to keep them safe during a fire. Your preparation and quick thinking can mean the difference between their life and death. Over the next few minutes, we will discuss how you can prepare yourself for fire emergencies using proper planning and prevention measures. We will go over fire drills, evacuation plans, and facility policies, how to limit the most common causes of fires, how to keep your residents safe when a fire does occur, and strategies for safely confining fires and extinguishing small fires. No set of guidelines can completely prevent a fire from breaking out. The greatest tool at your disposal during a fire emergency is clear thinking. Stay cool and rely on your training. Your decisions and demeanor will set the tone for your residents and help keep them calm and moving.
Everyone, today we're having a fire drill. Do not announce this to your direct line staff. Try to remember your responsibilities and assist the staff in your area on following the evacuation plan closely. We want to keep this as orderly and calm as possible for our residents.
Attention staff, we have a fire emergency on the 2nd floor in compartment 2A. Please follow your evacuation plan.
Okay everyone, we're going to go through these doors and down the hallway. Susan, secure those rear doors.
Preparation and prevention are the first line of defense against fires. The National Fire Protection Association, or NFPA, mandates that all long-term care facilities utilize a number of safety systems, such as fire alarms, sprinkler systems, and fire doors to keep residents and staff safe. You are essential to ensure these systems work properly. You tie each system to the next throughout the entire facility. A detailed fire and evacuation plan are critical to protect property and safeguard lives. Review your facility's evacuation or defend-in-place policies. Pay attention to the evacuation placards posted throughout the facility. Note the location of emergency exits and alarms. Getting familiar with your surroundings will help you remember important information and locations when an emergency occurs and hearts start racing. According to state and federal regulations, your facility must conduct regular fire drills. Regular, realistic fire drills conducted at least once a month per shift give you the opportunity to fully understand your facility's emergency procedures. All shifts should conduct fire drills at least once every 3 months, and fire extinguisher training at least once a year. Let's face it, drills are not real, but fires are. Still, take fire drills seriously. Try to imagine that you are in the midst of a real fire emergency. Think about how you would feel, how you might react, and how your residents might respond. What might be different when you hear the alarm for the first time? What would you think if you saw smoke coming from under a nearby door? How would you keep yourself composed and collected? How would you calm your residents? Often, the only thing standing in the way of resident injury or death during a fire is a complete understanding of fire safety procedures. These can be practiced under non-emergency conditions. In case of any emergency, but especially fire, you must know how to sound the alarm. During any fire drills, emphasize the immediate notification of the fire department. Get to know where every alarm in your facility is located, whether at the front desk or down each hallway. Learn their differences and know how to use each one. Many fires in long-term care facilities have spread because of delays in sounding an alarm. Familiarize yourself with your facility's evacuation plan. Focus on your role in providing for residents with specific needs. Residents with impaired mobility, vision, and hearing all require specialized attention during a fire emergency. For example, your deaf or hearing impaired residents may need visual cues, such as a pull-down shade with the word fire on it, to alert them to a fire emergency. Or your residents with limited mobility may require ready access to wheelchairs or mobile beds, or accommodations on the first floor to facilitate any evacuation. Get to know your residents and what they need. It will enable you to make fast and informed decisions. If a fire breaks out, you must be ready to act quickly, calmly, and correctly. The best way to prepare is to regularly practice realistic fire drills.
Mrs. Robinson, you know you're not allowed to smoke in your room before bed.
I just like to have a cigarette before I go to bed.
Well, we have designated smoking areas for that. You know, smoking in your room can be extremely dangerous. If you'd like a cigarette before bed, I can have someone take you down to the community smoking area.
That would be lovely, dear.
No matter how ready you think you are for a fire, no matter how many times you drill, no matter how successful you are in implementing an evacuation plan, you can never be fully prepared for what may happen when a fire breaks out. The best way to defend against a fire is to do your best to make sure a fire never occurs. Fire prevention only works when everyone on the staff is vigilant about fire safety. Every day and in all aspects of your daily routine, you must keep your eyes open for potential hazards. Report or take care of anything that may represent a threat to everyone's safety. In addition, educate your residents and co-workers. When you notice a potential fire hazard, point it out. Your goal is to get everyone thinking about fire safety and prevention at all times. Besides staying alert and aware, the most significant thing you can do to prevent fires in your facility is to keep it clean. Good housekeeping is fire prevention that you can directly control. In hallways and resident rooms, regularly empty trash cans, waste paper baskets, and recycling containers. Keep areas clear of clutter and loose collections of paper. Strictly prevent or monitor any use of candles in resident rooms or common areas. Refer to your facility's guidelines for specific rules regulating their use. Be sure your maintenance department checks all decorations, wall hangings, or pictures to make sure they are fire retardant and non-combustible. It is especially important to check and be aware of all holiday decorations. Routinely change out vacuum bags. The National Fire Protection Association estimates that over half of all fires in long-term care facilities originate in the kitchen or are associated with cooking equipment. To help protect against kitchen fires, you can keep garbage and food waste away from cooking areas. Regularly clean the oven and range to keep them free of excessive grease. Do not let pots and pans pile up on or near cooking surfaces. In the laundry room, empty the dryer's lint trap after each load. In addition to proper cleaning practices, another direct impact you can have in fire prevention is to strictly adhere to your facility's smoking policy. In long-term care, smoking-related fires cause 40% of all fire-related deaths and 25% of fire injuries. In recent years, many state legislatures have passed smoking bans for places of employment that often includes long-term care facilities. However, some of these laws do carve out exceptions for long-term care. Get to know the appropriate smoking regulations that affect you and your facility. If smoking is permitted, familiarize yourself with your facility's rules and be ready to strictly enforce them. Your facility should allow smoking only in designated areas. This rule applies to everyone, residents, visitors, and staff. No exceptions. Any outdoor smoking area should be placed apart and away from any shared activity space. Any indoor smoking area should be properly ventilated and separated from the rest of the facility. Non-smoking signs should be posted outside of designated smoking areas to alert residents and staff to the fire risk. Permit your cognitively impaired residents to smoke only under supervision. Consider using smoking aprons with residents who may have compromised motor control. Provide enough ashtrays in designated smoking areas. Provide non-combustible trash receptacles for emptying ashtrays. Empty ashtrays often. And prohibit smoking in any room where flammable liquids, combustible gases, or oxygen are stored or in use. Finally, be sure that all visitors are aware of the facility's smoking policy. Strongly discourage visitors from providing residents with cigarettes, cigars, or other smoking paraphernalia without the staff's knowledge. They may think they are helping their family member or only breaking a small rule, but this lapse in judgment can have dire consequences. You can greatly reduce the two most common causes of fire in long-term care settings by maintaining a clean facility and enforcing smoking regulations.
Mr. Felice, is there something burning in here?
I don't smell anything.
Mr. Felice, you know you're not supposed to have space heaters in here. It's a fire hazard.
My son brought it for me. I got cold last night.
Well, if you get cold, you let me know. We'll see if we can adjust the thermostat or get you some more blankets.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to call your son and explain to him that a space heater is a dangerous choice. Talk about an appropriate plan to help keep you warm at night.
Okay.
Cooking equipment and smoking materials may be the major causes of fires in long-term care facilities, but they are not the only ones. Additional hazards include faulty or improperly connected electrical equipment, improper trash disposal, flammable liquids and other combustible materials, and heating equipment. Use common sense to identify fire hazards. If it looks like a fire hazard, it probably is. Let's consider some electrical safety risks. First, let's look at some common electrical hazards. Pay attention to early warning signs, such as shocks, sparks, overheating cords, or burning electrical smells. A hot extension cord may mean an overloaded circuit. Replace any damaged electrical cords or plugs. Never overload extension cords or power strips. And only use electrical devices labeled with the Underwriters Laboratory or UL symbol. Other devices may not be safe. Many residents in your facility require oxygen to help them breathe. Oxygen fuels a fire, and when it or any other compressed gas is exposed to heat, it can explode. Whenever oxygen is in use within your facility, prominently display oxygen in use signs. Report any malfunction of an oxygen tank, its equipment, or its gas compressor. And make sure you know how to shut off an oxygen tank in case of an emergency. When storing or disposing of trash or waste, never keep trash near heat-producing appliances, such as furnaces or ovens. Make a habit of emptying any trash can before it overfills. Make sure any combustible trash is completely removed from the facility at least once a day. And use self-closing metal containers for oily rags, waste, and mops. Your facility may use many kinds of flammable materials, such as cleaning solutions, rubbing alcohol, or even paint. You need to safeguard these materials and store them properly to minimize the fire risk. Be aware of all the flammable materials that may be found in your facility. Store all flammable liquids in metal containers and cabinets approved by the National Fire Protection Association, or NFPA. Clearly mark all containers and storage areas. Do not store flammable liquids near heating equipment. Heating equipment also represents a major fire hazard. Prohibit the use of heating pads. Residents often forget to turn them off. When left on for hours, the heat they produce can become a fire hazard. Do not allow residents to use portable heating equipment, such as space heaters. And do not allow residents to use cooking equipment, such as hot pads, hot plates, or portable stoves in their rooms. Crowded corridors present another serious hazard that can both cause fires and get in the way during an evacuation. Do not store boxes or equipment in hallways or corridors. Make sure corridors are clear and wide enough for all residents to move through, especially those with limited mobility. And do not allow clutter, paper, or other storage items to block doors or hallways. Finally, consider the large metal fire doors installed in corridors throughout your facility. These doors are designed to help contain fires in one location and keep the rest of the facility safe. Never prop open a fire door. This can prevent it from closing properly when you need it to. When fire doors are propped open, you invite a fire to spread into additional areas. The best way to fight a fire is to prevent it from starting in the first place. You can prevent fires by keeping your facility clean and organized, enforcing smoking regulations, and identifying and eliminating potential fire hazards. Proper fire preparation and prevention measures can go a long way to making sure a fire never occurs. But when a fire does break out, you must act quickly, calmly, and correctly to maintain the safety of the entire facility. Over the final portion of this video, we will focus on the proper procedure if you encounter a fire. Remember these steps when you practice during fire drills. Your goal is to make this procedure second nature in case of emergency. The first few minutes after the discovery of a fire are more important than the next few hours. When you encounter a fire, you will find yourself in a race against time. Remember the acronym RACE to remind you of the 4 basic steps to combating a fire emergency: rescue, alarm, confine, and extinguish. You may also see this acronym listed as ARCE, the same steps in a slightly different order of emphasis: alarm, rescue, confine, and extinguish. For this program, we will focus on the order presented by the RACE acronym, but remember that the same principles apply to both. During a real emergency situation, you may find yourself performing any of these steps simultaneously, or in an entirely different order that is more appropriate to the particular situation you encounter.
Mr. Stokes, are you okay?
I'm fine. What's going on?
It's a fire. I'm gonna need to take you with me.
I don't think I can get out of bed.
You just stay where you are. I have another CNA coming to help me move your bed.
The mobile residents are secure. Let's get Mr. Stokes down the hall.
You got everything?
Yes, let's go.
R stands for rescue. During a fire, resident safety is your primary concern. Refer to your facility's specific evacuation plan to help you move any resident threatened by a fire to an area of safety, either outside the facility, on another floor, or in a separate enclosed space, depending on the type and severity of the fire. In long-term care settings, total evacuation of every resident is not often a practical solution. A facility's emergency plan often considers complete evacuation a measure of last resort. As a result, evacuation during a fire usually involves a limited amount of resident movement. Many of your residents may have limited mobility or conditions that prevent them from helping themselves or recognizing danger. As a result, evacuation procedures in long-term care facilities are often based upon the defend-in-place concept and usually involve a minimal amount of resident movement. Defend in place means relocating residents from the smoke zone of a fire to another protected area on the same floor. Most fire-related deaths in long-term care facilities are caused by smoke inhalation. Consequently, every floor in a healthcare building must be subdivided into separate smoke compartments or zones. In order for these smoke compartments to function properly, the fire doors in all of the corridors must be closed. The system allows you to move residents to safe locations within the same building or on the same floor. Get to know the layout of the smoke compartments and the location of the fire doors on the floor where you work. This will allow you to move quickly in case of a fire. During a fire emergency, first evacuate residents from the room where the fire is present, regardless of their mobility. Once you evacuate the residents in immediate danger, your main goal is to move the greatest number of people in the least amount of time. First, evacuate the walking residents, then wheelchair residents. Finally, move the bed or litter-borne residents. If you must move residents to another floor during an emergency, use the stairs. Never take the elevator. Make sure everyone in the affected smoke zone has been evacuated and ensure that those residents do not re-enter the area. Finally, after completing an evacuation, make sure to account for all residents and staff.
Hi, this is Leslie, Level 1, Section C. I see smoke coming out from under the door to the basement. Thank you, Leslie. Hi, this is Sandy Oliver at the West Side Elder Care Facility, 1121 France Road. I need to confirm a fire alarm. We have smoke coming up from the basement. Yes, we have started evacuation procedures. Thank you.
A stands for alarm. If you discover a fire, activate the alarm immediately. If you hear an alarm, respond quickly and calmly. Know where your facility's fire panel is located. This panel indicates any alarm or signal that activates throughout the facility that could involve fire. Many panels also indicate the specific location of an activated alarm or fire. Use this information to announce the location of the fire to the staff and begin the proper evacuation procedures. Pull stations should be located in every corridor and near every exit throughout the facility. If you spot a fire or notice smoke, activate the pull station. This will sound the alarm and alert the staff to begin the fire management plan. When a fire does occur, the fire alarm usually activates automatically, but you should also pull any manual fire alarm and call 911. Once a fire alarm sounds, panic can pose a significant risk to everyone in the facility. Stay calm, but move with a purpose. Never shout fire, and do your best to reassure residents and keep them calm. If you are away from your work area when an alarm sounds, return immediately and follow your fire procedure. If the fire is not in your immediate area, remain at your post until you receive further instructions. Never abandon your position, even to help, unless you are told to do so. Your residents need you, and you must be there for them. While awaiting instructions, you can help by closing windows, closing corridor doors, closing resident room doors, and making sure hallways, corridors, and exits are clear. These simple steps can help protect the rest of the facility from spreading smoke and fire.
Margaret, can you make sure nothing's blocking that fire door down there?
C stands for confine. When a fire occurs in your facility, the best way to protect your residents and the property from excessive damage is to confine the fire by closing doors and windows to rooms in the fire area. This will slow the spread of smoke and flame and cut the fire off from much needed oxygen. The real danger to residents is not the fire itself, but the smoke. To prevent the rampant spread of smoke, make sure all doors, especially fire doors, are properly closed. After you contain the fire and smoke behind closed doors, do not go back to fight the fire. Immediately evacuate that smoke compartment. By containing the fire, you dramatically slow the spread of fire and smoke, allowing the fire department to successfully fight the fire.
All right, okay, Mandy, we need to get the residents out of here as quickly as possible. There's a fire extinguisher here that'll allow me to contain it before it gets out of control.
E stands for extinguish. If a fire is small and you know how to properly operate a fire extinguisher, you may be able to prevent further damage by extinguishing the fire. Extinguishing a fire is a serious matter. Use common sense. Your job is to protect your residents and yourself, not to fight fires. If there is ever any question in your mind regarding whether you should attempt to extinguish a fire or not, choose to evacuate. Try to extinguish a fire only if the fire is small and not spreading, and never get in the way of firefighters when they arrive on the scene. Before you decide to fight any fire, be sure your residents have been moved to a safe location. The fire department has been notified, and the room is not filled with smoke.
All right, you see this one is a little out of date. We should replace this with a Class K extinguisher that's specially designed for use against kitchen fires.
I'll note that. We should practice with that during the next fire drill.
Before you attempt to extinguish a small fire, you need to know a few important details. The type of fire and fuel you are facing, the type of extinguisher you will need, the location of fire extinguishers, and how to use a fire extinguisher properly. The type of fire involved determines the type of extinguisher you will need. Fires are classified into 4 general categories. Class A fires involve any material that can burn to ash, like wood, paper, or cloth. Class B fires involve flammable liquids or any substance that can boil, such as gasoline, oil, or grease. Class C fires are caused by currents and involve live electrical equipment. Class D fires are primarily industrial fires involving combustible metals. You will probably not encounter this type of fire in a long-term care facility. Please be aware that you cannot use water to extinguish any Class B, C, or D fire. Water will only make matters worse by causing a fire to spread. For example, never use water on a grease fire in the kitchen. Water in that situation could make the fire blow up in your face. Fire extinguishers are clearly marked. The most common extinguishers you should find in your facility are multi-purpose ABC extinguishers that contain a dry chemical. These extinguishers work against Class A, B, and C fires. You may also have a Class K extinguisher at your facility. These extinguishers are specifically designed for use in the kitchen. They contain a cooling agent that is safe for use on all kitchen appliances. If you ever need to use a Class K extinguisher, be sure not to activate it until any hood suppression system over the stove has been triggered. So make sure you have the right tool for the job. Get to know where the fire extinguishers are located at your facility and practice with them during fire drills. When you need to use a fire extinguisher, remember the word pass. Pull, aim, squeeze, and sweep. Pull the pin. Hold the extinguisher with the nozzle pointing away from you and pull the pin to release the locking mechanism. Aim. Aim low. Point the extinguisher at the base of the fire, not at the flames. If you aim at the flames, the extinguishing chemical will shoot over the source of the fire. Squeeze. Squeeze the lever slowly and evenly to keep the chemical agent flowing smoothly. Sweep. Sweep the nozzle back and forth, covering the entire width of the fire. Fires can spread quickly. Be sure you keep your back to a clear exit so you can escape if the fire gets out of control. If the room fills with smoke, leave immediately. Fire extinguishers can save lives, but they have limitations. Again, if you have any doubt about extinguishing a fire on your own, get out. In order to avoid disaster at your facility, you must prepare yourself to respond if a fire breaks out and make every effort to prevent a fire from starting. Remember these fire safety guidelines. Perform regular fire drills and take them seriously. Practice your facility's fire evacuation plan and defend-in-place procedures. Know the location of all fire alarms, fire doors, emergency exits, and fire extinguishers. Keep your facility clean and orderly. Remove storage and clutter from hallways, doorways, and exits. Strictly enforce your facility's smoking regulations. Stay on the lookout for fire hazards and know how to correct and report them. Know how and when to fight a small fire. When you encounter a fire, remember the acronym RACE. Rescue everyone in immediate danger. Activate the alarm. Confine the fire. And extinguish only if the fire is small and you know how to use a fire extinguisher. Or you may refer to the acronym ARCE that includes the same steps in a slightly different order of emphasis. Alarm, rescue, confine, and extinguish. In each case, although these steps are presented in an organized manner to provide guidance, during a true emergency, you may find yourself performing these steps simultaneously or in a sequence appropriate to the particular situation. In all cases, rely on your common sense, experience, and training to keep you and your residents safe.
It looks like some painting supplies were left near the furnace. Everything's under control. How is everyone?
No injuries. Paramedics are looking at a few residents for precautionary reasons.
Well, good job. Your fire safety procedures really kept this situation from becoming a lot worse. We'll be out of your hair shortly.
Thank you very much.
Fire safety begins with the attitude that all fires can be prevented. But during a fire emergency, your residents' safety depends on the combination of a thorough fire safety procedure and a well-trained staff. The safety of your residents is your top priority. Continue your training through regular fire drills and take them seriously. You never know when you might need to call upon what you've learned. Educate yourself and stay aware of potential hazards. Above all, stay calm and collected so you can provide the best protection for your residents and yourself.